Okay, have you ever come across something in the world that just doesn't seem to add up? Like, imagine finding out that the most expensive product to make is also the world's biggest seller. It sounds completely backward, right? Well, today we're diving into that exact mystery, a huge paradox right at the heart of the global cotton trade.
Let's start with a number, 38%. That is the United States' massive slice of the entire global cotton export market. To put it simply, they are the single biggest exporter on the planet, and it's not even close.
But here's where it gets really strange. It can cost up to 6 times more to produce that very same cotton in the US compared to a major competitor, say like India. So how on earth can the most expensive producer also be the world's #1 seller? That's the paradox we're going to solve. All right, to get to the bottom of this, we really need to look at the two heavyweights in this story, the United States and India. They are both absolute titans in the world of cotton. But as you're about to see, they're playing two completely different games.
First, just a little context on who's actually growing the most. If you look at the years between 2007 and 2010, the US wasn't even #1 or #2. It was third, trailing behind both China and India. So right away, that tells us their dominance isn't about growing the most cotton, it's about what they do with it.
In this chart, wow, this really lays out the American strategy. A staggering 86% of all the cotton grown in the U.S. gets shipped overseas. The whole industry is basically an export machine built from the ground up to sell to the rest of the world.
Now, let's contrast that with India. It's a totally different picture. India uses 78% of its own cotton right at home, powering its enormous domestic textile industry. So you see, the US looks outward, India looks inward. Two giants, two completely opposite strategies.
So this brings us right back to that big question, the cost. If India is using its own cotton and the U.S. is selling its cotton, how is the U.S. even competing when its production costs are so much higher? Let's really dig into the numbers.
This table from the 2009-2010 season gives us our first major clue. To grow cotton on 1 hectare of land in northern India, it costs a little over $1,000. The average in the U.S.? Over $1,700. That is a massive difference right out of the gate.
But honestly, this is the number that really matters. When you break it all down to the cost per kilogram of actual cotton lint, the gap is just astronomical. It costs the US almost $2 to produce what cost India, at most, 44 cents. We're talking 4, 5, even 6 times more expensive for American farmers.
So you just have to ask, right? How is this possible? How can a country sell something to the entire world when it costs them up to 6 times more to make it than their competition? It just seems to fly in the face of basic economics. Well, turns out there's a giant piece of the puzzle we haven't seen yet.
And here it is. This is the missing piece. The answer isn't found in the cotton fields, and it's not on the stock exchange. It's found in government policy. $37 billion. That's how much money the U.S. government paid out in subsidies to its cotton producers just between 1995 and 2010. This is the secret ingredient. This is the financial muscle that makes the whole paradox work.
And, this support wasn't just a simple check. It was this whole complex web of different programs. You had payments that would kick in when market prices dropped, direct government payments, and even help paying for crop insurance. All of it together created this incredibly powerful financial safety net for U.S. producers.
The research that this whole explainer is based on, it sums it up perfectly. It says the U.S. is enjoying an artificial comparative advantage. And that's the key phrase right there. The advantage isn't natural. It's not because they're more efficient. It's an advantage that has been built, constructed with billions and billions of dollars in government support.
So you have to wonder, what happens when you inject that kind of money into one corner of a global market? Well, it doesn't just stay there. It creates these huge ripple effects that are felt all across the world.
What these programs do is they basically shield American producers from the real world. If global cotton prices fall, the subsidies cushion the blow, and that encourages them to just keep on producing huge amounts of expensive cotton. All that extra cotton then floods the global supply, which pushes prices down even further for every other cotton farmer on the planet.
And you can see the result clear as day on this chart. It shows international cotton prices during that exact same period of heavy subsidies. And what's the trend? Down. This price suppression, as the researchers call it, directly hurts the farmers in other countries who don't have that safety net, who have to compete on a playing field that is anything but level.
So the paradox is solved.
It's an artificial advantage, built by $37 billion, that allows the world's most expensive cotton to dominate the market. It's a really powerful look at how a country's policies can completely reshape global trade. And it leaves us with one final and I think really important question. When you silence the normal signals of the market, who out there really pays the price?